Hey, internet people, this is Lady Sussex here. If you are new to this channel, this is a brand new channel, brand new podcast. It's a sad day for me today. I don't even know how to start, but I am upset. I'm angry, very emotional. Like Meghan, I have been suicidal. And to hear the press today focusing on colorism, completely forgot this woman talking about how close she was to take her life and her unborn child at that time. And some of the media, included UK folks, don't believe her. They think she was acting. They think she was putting on a show. What they don't understand is how dangerous that is, to not believe someone who talk about mental health, and that's so bad that they're willing to take their life in an unborn child. What about these people who are now, perhaps maybe tonight, a week from now, who thinking about doing the same thing that Meghan was thinking about, that I was thinking about at a time, and who want help, and maybe perhaps asking for help, and they didn't receive it or will not receive it, or scared to ask for it just because they hear what you guys said. This is very, very dangerous. I wonder how Alexander McQueen, one of the greatest designers in all time, very young, very promising, I wonder when he took his life, what if he did talk to somebody and they didn't listen? What if they had ignored him? Kate Spade, the great Kate Spade, left a daughter. No one knows this woman was suffering. And maybe they did, and they do nothing about it. Caroline Flax, the same thing, and I could go on and on and on. Seriously, guys, you guys say you care about the Queen. You love the Queen. I understand. And you want to defend her. I understand. But if you love your queens that much, you love the monarchy that much, ask yourself this question. You spend a whole year trashing the queen you love so much, the woman that you love so much, grandchild, great-great-grandchild. Don't you think that will have an effect on her? Now you're talking about how she's 93. And look what she's going through. Look what they are putting her through. But you guys did that. You spent years trashing, talking about that, sort of people that, who's talking in the palace. People are doing this. At no time, I've never heard you guys say, enough. The Queen is 93. She does not need to deal with this kind of stress. I never heard that. Seriously, guys, when is it going to be enough is enough? When are you guys going to see people as a human being? Whether or not they are rich, whether or not they have money, whether or not that they are successful. You don't know what someone is going through. Money is not the key of happiness. I am offended because this is personal for me. Well, by the grace of God, I am here today to be able to speak with you guys. But there was a time it was dark for me. I come from a great family. And some may say, well off. It was never about money. It was never about success. It was personal. It was how I was made to be feel. Issues that were deep. So yes, I hope someone hear my voice today. I hope you guys apologize, because there could be someone tonight who will take their life. This is hard for me. And I want the press to apologize for what they put us, all of us, through. At first, they tell us Meghan make Kate cry. And you guys know it was not true. What were you guys trying to do? You guys tell us that, this woman broke protocol by not wanting to take pictures after giving birth. As wrong as that is something that, she would have done. But you guys told her that she's not protected. She wouldn't be protected. Her child wouldn't be protected. But you guys don't worry about that. What if she was standing up and then she got shot? What if she had got murdered? But that's not what you guys tell us. You say, is that how dare she to break protocols? You guys also tell us that when they decide to leave, that the Queen was blindsided. Was she? Because the Queen on statement says, after many months of talk, she is sad to say that they will be leaving. But that's not what you guys told us. You also tell us that, you know what? They did not want a title for their child. You guys make fun of Archie names. But now we find out that is not the case, that black child did not deserve a title. Why are you guys not asking why? Why not? So for me, I think it is really important as we're moving forward that you guys hold Harry and Meghan an apology. The abuse this woman take from you guys could have caused her death. And Archie, thank God, now they are on the other side. But are they? Because the conversation that's going on right now scares me. This is hard. But I have some guests here with me, and they've been with me since I started this podcast. This is my third. I think it was important for me to get my voice out there because I couldn't stand in the sideline anymore. I have been a supporter of Meghan and Harry since 2016. I've listened. I've support their endeavor. I support their charity. I won't say I was scared or I was feared to be involved and say something. No, that was not the case. It just I didn't know what to say. And I didn't know how to say it. But I know I wanted to say something. Some people may say, well, it's too late now. They're in a better place. Yes, they are. And I am so happy they are safe. But I am not so sure if we don't stand up, if we don't say that, you know what, hell no, what happened to his mom, not gonna happen to his wife. If we don't rally around them and say, enough, I'm afraid this may not be the end of it all for them. And it hurt me to say these words. I could not see them not have any type of retaliation anywhere for the kind of hatred that I've heard today. The lack of empathy for each one of us, especially women of colors, that come out that were saying things is because we've seen ourselves. For those of us that were mixed race or have families that were biracial, this is personal for us. I hope, for God's sake, you guys take a minute and actually think before you're getting in the air and say this horrible thing. You're not just only hurting Meghan and Harry. Think about how many people that you may be hurting. Your co-workers, the black friends you claim you have. Maybe your family's husband or wife. Maybe you have some biracials in your family. They're not exempt from that. So I hope you guys think about it. This is bigger than Meghan and Harry. And I think what we are screaming about is that we have enough. As you see on what happened on, what show I'm talking about. This man walk. How funny that he spent the last 4 years trashing this woman. Talk about this woman in a way that I don't even know how is that acceptable in a network like this. But yet was not willing to stand around when he was challenged and walk off. And I am so happy to hear that, he walked off forever, hopefully forever. I'm not a racist. Yeah, I'm not a racist. I'm not this, I'm not that. But you certainly say racist thing. You certainly say things racist. Racists think you are racist by saying racist thing. I don't know who or how many people that will be listening to my voice. This is a brand new channel. Barely 3 or 4 subscribers. But I hope one day, if not today, if not tomorrow, a week from now, someone happened to tune on and listen to my voice. Maybe they could save someone. So this is personal, and I am hurting because we depend to the media. So much of our lives, it's involved with the media, wherever you get your news. And the hope is what they are saying to you is the truth. They have the power to change our mind. They have the power to make us feel. They have the power to make us hate. That is a huge responsibility. And you guys should shame of yourself for not uphold that kind of trust people put on you guys. So, I will introduce my guests now, Charles and George. You both heard the Queen make a statement. What did you guys think about it?
Well, the first thought was just that it was incredibly short. It seemed like, given the gravity of the situation and the gravity of what was shared in the interview, that it probably warranted a more thoughtful and in-depth response. I thought it was... I thought it could have been worse. I mean, I think that at least they acknowledged that what was said needed to be taken seriously, but at the same point, it kind of challenged that by saying that recollections may vary. So I think if for it to be fully taken seriously and for it to be given the attention and the seriousness that it deserves, it almost needed to not focus on how recollections may vary in this initial response.
And you, Charles?
Personally, I think they swept it under the rug, honestly. They had to say something. They're not known to be very vocal. They're not known to actually make public statements very often. But considering the gravity of the situation and the uproar that it's called globally, really, I think they felt compelled that they had to say something. I mean, again, 3/4 of the empire, or what's left of it, the Commonwealth, are nations of color. So they clearly had to say something. But again, one, it was just kind of the half-assed apology, as George had mentioned. But also, what you're also speaking to is the fact that, they said they're going to keep it in the family. It's going to be something they're going to discuss themselves and work it out. So, to me, that says that, okay, well, they're going to, they tell you that they're going to handle it, but, the royals' way of handling it basically is to not handle it. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's a good point, is that ending it on handling it privately is kind of the thing that I guess really, when you think about it, takes all of the air out of it, takes all of the seriousness that it could have. It kind of eliminates that, because if you don't have that transparency, if it's not something that's out in the forefront in the public eye, then there's no way of knowing what it really is.
But they had that opportunity. They had that chance to deal with it behind closed door. Harry asked to speak to his grandma, was supposed to be meeting his grandmother. And they said the Queen wasn't available after he was told that the Queen will meet him, because he wanted to talk to his grandmother. His father stopped accepting his call. All of it has been months and months and months of talking. They leak the information out. They all knew that was not what Harry wanted. What killing me about the whole situation is, and then no one is not talking about, we know there is a lot of people that don't like the fact that, you know what, Meghan is a part of the royal family. That the royal family is now having a black prince. And their safety should have been their priority. Their safety should have been the most important things, regardless what anyone says. After all, they sell us on the idea of they were going to modernize, and that's what Meghan was supposed to be doing, and then they didn't even give her a chance to do that. I'm not sure what that mean, modernize. Modernize how? I called this show Meghan Markle a real life Cinderella. Please tell me this is not the case. When they locked her, they took everything. They locked her in the home and not want her to go out. Wasn't that the same situation? I don't even know why I decided to call it. I feel like there is something about that story. Like she was nobody, like she was nothing. They couldn't even bother give her everything that she needs to make them look good. But instead, in my opinion, that they wanted her to look silly, stupid, not knowing what she's doing. Because they think that, that will only reflect on her, not on them. Look at that Negro. She doesn't know how to curse. How dare she not curse? Look at her. She doesn't know how to sit down. She doesn't know how to do this. She doesn't know how to do that. Because that was their job. To teach her. Knowing that, she was an outsider. From what I understand, they did it for kids. I understand one day Kate going to be queen. I get it. I mean, this is what it is. Okay, fine. But you guys should have make sure this woman was safe. Protect her child. So for me, I don't think it's good enough to say, oh, we're going to deal with it as well. And I know why they say that. Are you guys going to now protect Harry? Because there is people that's angry. Very obviously, they are mad and they are upset because they talk. So I want to know, what are you going to do? I want to know it's a family thing, but you guys hold the Commonwealth and answer. So I want to know, what is next? So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that, us, the public, especially the people in UK, deserve an apology?
Certainly. Well, I think even more than the apology, I think they deserve the truth, right? I think they need to know what truly happened, and I think they need acceptance. They need the royal family to be accepting of truly what went on and their part in it. I mean, for me, when you just sit back and think, okay, well, you know, how factual is this? How can I compare, you know, previous experience and see if she truly had differing behavior, worse treatment? And I think the simple corollary is Prince Andrew. I mean, he's been in a world of stuff just lately. And having hung out with Epstein and, you know, the pedophile and everything else, and there's just so much that's going on, yet they've completely, you know, protected this man like he's going out. I mean, there's literally a warrant for his arrest, if I'm not mistaken, here in the U.S. There's certainly yeah. I mean, they're literally trying to extradite him into the U.S. for questioning, if nothing else, if not for arrest. But they're not even letting that happen. So they're completely protecting him. So you have this over such a serious set of allegations, and more than just one. He's been going over and hanging out with that guy for a long time. So you have this kind of behavior, which is clearly not on the up and up. I mean, it's just absolutely just wretched. And then you have Meghan, which they rake over the coals about the fact she eats avocados. Or that, you know, choose your list because she happens to be a divorcee, because she happens to be whatever. But there's all these manufactured things that's brought up about why she's such a terrible person. And she just was not protected whatsoever by the institution, by the firm. And so when you just look at the dichotomy between those two situations, you can clearly see that there's contrasting views, and obviously how they are able to protect and how they choose not to. So it would be very difficult for you in that particular situation to say that, okay, there's not, you know, what is the outlying factor here? What is something that's different? It would be that she's not white. And it'd be very difficult to say that, you know, especially with the other extenuating circumstances, that race wasn't the predominant cause behind all that behavior and the driving motivation.
But think about it even more. How hypocrite that, you know, sort of the press are. I mean, his father married a divorcee with 2 kids. I believe this woman had 2 kids. Yes, she had a little hard time because everybody sort of give her a little hard time because they believe that, you know, it was because of her, as we see, you know, in The Crown. And we all know the story. But yet, she was accepted.
Well, I think to your last question, I mean, obviously an apology is more than warranted, and the public deserves it, and especially Meghan and Harry deserve it. But I think even if you take a step back from what would be right and what's the right thing to do, and just think about it from the press or the royal family's point of view, even if you take a very cynical view, it still is the right thing to do for them to be able to get some sort of credibility back when things are so obviously wrong. To be like, yeah, we messed up. Yeah, this wasn't the right way to go about things. Yeah, we are sorry. It wasn't fair. It was biased. And to actually come to terms with that fact, to be able to move forward. Because I don't see how for them, for either the press or for the royal family for that matter, how do you move forward without actually addressing the issue at hand?
My issue is that, you know, like listening to everyone sort of making, you know, all that, you know, I want to know who said what, who said about the color. Really? Well, that I understand. I would have loved to hear exactly who said what But at the end of the day, it was racist. And this is something that, we know that formed the monarchy in some ways.
Yeah, I find it disingenuous for commentators to question the context that the conversation happened in, because I mean, whether or not that's even valid to begin with as a premise in terms of different contexts is potentially justifying a conversation like that, and I don't know if that's even the case. But Harry brought it forward and spoke about it in a way that makes it clear that it wasn't some sort of playful context in which it was shared. So for you to then question whether or not it was racist means you're questioning whether or not you believe Harry's being genuine and telling the truth, as opposed to anything else.
Right. And for me, maybe it's because that, sort of, for most of us, and we sort of like deal with racism all the time, where you kind of like, sort of put a blind eye, and it's kind of like, okay, whatever, or okay, I'll fight it another day, or whatever the case is. And not that I'm saying that, we should not know, or we should not sort of, figure why that person, whoever, how many of them, say what they said. Because it wasn't just like, they said, what color is your child going to be? Or do you think it's going to be dark? Or do you think it's going to be light? What she said was, and what I believe Harry said, it was a concern. That is very different. A concern. Why are you concerning about the child color? This is very different. They did not say, oh, somebody talk about, I wonder what your child going to be like. I wonder what color it's going to be. It was several conversations, Meghan said, because they have some concern. And who in the right mind, not, when the woman is pregnant, 5 months, I don't know how many months she was pregnant, for you to approach her and tell her, by the way, that child that you're going to have, not only that, he's not going to be protected, he's not going to have a title, but he's not going to be protected. I'm challenging anyone who have kids that will stand out, who come, who started talking all the garbage that you're talking about, that you marry into a family that is more often than not will have a hate on their head. And then you heard that, your child, it's not going to be protected, and you're not going to be protected. And tell me, how would you feel? Especially for the kind of hate mail. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just go to Kensington, sort of website or whatever it is that, IG or whatever that is, and you could read for yourself. This is a woman that, they had called a monkey. Her child, a chimpanzee. And you don't want to protect this woman? You don't want to protect her child? And for me, one of the things that was so painful, but yet I get it, because this is what we do as women of color, specifically black women. We're always willing to protect somebody, and yet not protecting ourselves. To hear Meghan says, I get it. You don't want to protect me. You don't want to protect my child. Please protect my husband. And this is the woman that you guys call all sorts of names. I don't get it. So, what is next? What is next? Where do we go from here? If they're not going to apologize, if they are not going to talk about it, are they going to come to the state and talk to Meghan and Harry? Or they're going to have Zoom? Are they going to let us know that they are talking?
Well, according to their statement, they're not. And yes, that's unfortunate. It would be good, and I think, to the point made earlier, to their own benefit, to actually invite people into this conversation, because it is such an important conversation to they themselves. They basically now have the burden of proof to say that, you know what, you have to prove that you are not racist. So I certainly think that there's going to be some momentum they're going to have to try and dispel, and there's going to have to be a way that they're going to have to try and turn this thing around. So we'll see. The royal family is not necessarily known to do that. So,
but where is the investigation?
Oh, they're too worried about bullying, right?
well. First of all, obviously, I'm gonna want to hear the result on that. But more so, where is the investigation about? The fact is that this woman went to HR and then was denied. Is there going to be an investigation about that? What do you guys thought?
I mean, it seems like it's an obvious answer that they're not going to do that. They're not going to do those investigations, because at the end of the day, what probably would turn up would not be to their benefit. So I don't think we can expect them to do the right thing of their own volition anyway. I think there certainly needs to be, in terms of achieving the right end result, there certainly needs to be continued public pressure and a public eye on what happens to make sure there is some degree of accountability.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, my bigger concern is the palace is going to do what the palace is going to do. That's just, they've been operating the same way for hundreds of years. So to expect anything different, I think, would be a stretch. But the thing that I would find most helpful, and I think would be most urgent, is actually, how is the press actually going to take responsibility for their side of this whole matter? I mean, the palace wasn't alone in being racist towards them. I mean, you mentioned a couple of headlines already. So, and they've won in court. There's documented proof about it. Sometimes it's so painfully obvious it's silly, but that has social implications behind it. And I think more important for the people of Britain and just worldwide generally about how to address the racial overtones in today's news and today's media, because as your very moving opening, it matters. It has deep implications for an absolute enormous amount of people. So I think that's where we should focus our energies, because I think that's going to have the biggest ripple effect further down the line.
That I think especially to that point, connecting it to the rest of the kind of the zeitgeist in terms of people actually starting to wake up. I mean, there's certainly a long way to go, but waking up to what does racism look like today, and for a lot of people, myself included, a lot of white people, is like, it's not just gone. No, we as white people, we don't grow up experiencing it hitting us in the face every day, and so we don't really think about it. But if you take the time and the effort to look outside of your own shoes and listen to people, specifically listen to people of color, then you realize that it is not gone. Racism is alive and well. And I think that's one of the things that strikes me listening to some of the commentators talk about the interview and the allegations and how upset they are about this portrayal of the Queen as being a racist. And it's kind of like such a lack of nuance and understanding of what does it mean to be racist. There's obviously degrees, and there are different ways in which that can manifest itself. And it seems like it just needs to be moving this forward in terms of resolution for Meghan and Harry. Just seems like it is ends up needing to be tied into the rest of what we ask ourselves as a society in terms of how are we going to confront our own demons.
As we closing, because we're coming up to closing the show, because again it's been very heavy, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. But I have one more question for you, George. And I know this might be personal, and you don't have to answer it. If you don't want to answer it, that's okay. Maybe we'll talk about it in the next or another podcast. As a white male, a very handsome white male, who I think that I'm going to the best school and have so much. What do you think especially white people, or especially white men, miss? What is it that they miss about racism? What is it that what is the it's obviously there's something that they're not connected with. There is a lack of empathy when somebody of color, it says, this is my experience, this is how you guys have made me feel, this is what you said, even though you don't realize what it is that you are saying, how that will affecting me. But it's almost like there is a lack of empathy. How does that conversation goes?
Yeah, I think it's a subject that definitely warrants a full episode in and of itself. But I think at a high level, for me, I can't necessarily speak for all white men, but for me, one of the things that was an important realization was that racism is not necessarily an active step or thing that someone says or something that someone does. It's not necessarily so explicit like that, where it's an overt action, and even more frequently it is what is happening passively, or the things that are not being said, or things in the tone in which things are said, and how that all kind of compounds and builds. It's so much more the structure of someone's life, in which each of the touch points of their life with society, with other people, is changed because of that. And I think people who are not living that, like white people especially, because that's not something they're experiencing. They're not experiencing those kind of terms like microaggressions or things like that. They're not experiencing those subtle things, and so they feel like they reduce racism to being just those more overt, explicit actions. And I think at the end of the day, they forget, or they don't realize necessarily, that it's much more than that. It's much more complex than that.
Very interesting, and I hope we're able to talk more about that. But I also would like to ask you, Charles, as a biracial male, why do you think that people, or white people, miss about being biracial?
Oh, well, Well, it's not, you know, the things you miss about being biracial is the fact that it's not necessarily just a white issue. You know, black folks, you know, share some, you know, also have the same thing because they don't feel you fit neatly in one or the other category. You know, I grew up in the South, so, you know, racism was force-fed to you from a fire hose. That's just the way that it was. That was life. It was your lifestyle. It was obvious, and it was not in any way kind of misconstrued. It was very overt. And so, you know, if you didn't find yourselves in either one of those particular very obvious kind of camps, then people had a hard time trying to figure out like what to do. So it's you know, and it's tough. And I think that the big thing that George was mentioning is the fact that, you know, overall what the series of microaggressions are about is a structural thing. If you deal with a racist person, while it's annoying, you can move past it. You can move past it. You can move on. There's another place. You can get out of the way. There's another day. But when it's structural, then you can't avoid it. It impacts your entire life through your entire day. All of your experiences are viewed through that lens. And the unique perspective being biracial gives you is that you see both sides. You see how people treat, you know, your white parent, and you'll see how people treat your black parent. They'll come back and, you know, when my mother would take us out, there would be a very set of experiences between that. And then, you know, when my father would take us out, there would be a very different set of experiences that you would have. So, like, all of those things always come into play, and it was never not a part of my experience. I've never known what that's not like. So it's that's a part of life. So it's something that you just have to kind of get used to, right? And to a sense, almost desensitized from it.
Why should we continue to get used to it? Why? What is it going to take for us to break the glass ceiling?
Well, I think just in terms of what it's actually going to take, I think that it is standing up for yourself, right? Just generally speaking. And I think a large portion of what Meghan and Harry did is to do that, is to, you know, the best way to get rid of a bully is to call them a bully, is to confront them.
I mean, we saw that today because the bully walked out.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what you just have to do all the time, right? And it's through your entire life. I think that's part of Black Lives Matter and everything else, is how do you stand up to these things? How do you kind of shine a light in order to kind of see the inequity and try and, you know, elevate common understanding. The biggest problem that I think that we have just generally, especially here in the United States, is the assumption that people don't want to be racist. That is false. There are people very, very, very comfortable being racist. They may not want to call themselves that, but they sure like the benefits. And they're not walking away from it. In fact, they'll fight against it. And there's concrete examples all over the place, especially from the last 4 years. I have felt more racial tension in the past 4 years than I have since it was like in the 70s. In the South, mind you. So I think the big thing that people just need to wrap their head around is that this is not an issue that people see equally, that everyone sees it as being an issue. That you'll have the enlightened few that basically says, okay, well, I need to be better, I can do better. And then you'll have those who are not, who are just very happy to kind of remain the same. And then you'll have to kind of just pull them along and demand it. And I think that's something that we as a society have to understand and then see how to deal with kind of moving forward. And the only way to do that is, at least I feel anyway, is through the legal means, right? There has to be laws in place to protect you. But unfortunately, here in the States, oftentimes those enforcing the law are actually the same persons who are actually inflicting the racism to begin with. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, and we have to go into it clear-eyed in terms of what we can expect, and then how to best confront it. But at the end of the day, it needs to be confronted.
Well said. Well, we're gonna leave it here, guys. I hope you guys keep up the fight. I hope you guys keep asking the hard questions. I hope you guys call someone tonight, and tell them how much you love them, how much you care about them, and never feel afraid or scared to speak out or ask for help. And I hope if it's whoever that maybe happened to sort of click on this channel and listening and perhaps maybe have suicidal thought or doesn't want to live anymore, this is too much, especially in the internet, everything that's going on, the kind of bullying that happen every day, that you said, I need to call somebody. There is help out there. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and it will work out, and you will come out be stronger for it. Trust me, I've been there. So please, call your loved one, call a friend. It doesn't matter if that person is rich. It doesn't matter if that person you think is better off than you. Somehow you have in your head, just because they have this, they have that they don't have problem, they don't have issues, that somehow they immune from sort of pain and hurt, or even have mental issues. Please don't listen to the media that says, oh, they're rich people. Oh, there is so much going on right now that, why should we be worried and concerned about Meghan and Harry? Really? You guys started that. You guys didn't spend time talking about the virus and everything else that's going on, and the hunger and everything people going through. You spend daily harass this woman and her husband. And now she finally speaking for herself. Oh, how dare she to come out? How dare she to say that, she have mental health issues? How dare she? Well, you guys, this is not just Meghan and Harry you're fighting. You are fighting all of us. And what I mean by all of us, I'm talking about all the kids that are biracial, all the black folks, all the people you guys claim that you are representing, your friends, perhaps your uncle, your nephew, your niece, which you don't talk about. Somehow they are exempt from this. No, they're not. So I hope you guys listen to my voice and you start doing the right thing. And the right thing is, it's having an honest conversation to yourself first. And open. Stop telling us what racism is. Stop telling us that we are not in pain. That what we see is it's not what we see. What we heard, this is not what we heard. Stop it. What we want from you guys, it's an open heart and open ears. So good night. Please subscribe, share, and see you on the other side.